All right, let's get into it. We're talking about Chinatown. I mean, what a film. It's a masterpiece, a neo-noir that pretty much defined a whole decade of movies. But here's the thing. Behind all that incredible fiction, there's a true story, and it's just as dramatic. It's the story of how modern Los Angeles was born. Today, we're going to untangle both.
You know the line. It's one of the most famous closers in movie history. It just perfectly captures this feeling of giving up. The idea that some things are just too corrupt, too powerful to even try and fight.
But what does it actually mean in the movie? Chinatown isn't just a location on a map. No, it's a state of mind. It's this idea of a place where the rules just don't apply, where everything is murky, and justice is just an illusion. And to really get to the bottom of it, you have to follow two different threads. First, there's the fictional mystery that we all know and love from the movie, and then there's the ruthless, real-world history that inspired it, a history that honestly has kind of been forgotten because of the film. So, let's start with the film itself. The story is set back in 1937, and it kicks off with what seems like a standard case for our private eye, J.J. Gittes. But it doesn't stay simple for long. It spirals into this massive conspiracy, and right at the center of it all is water. So what Gittes starts to piece together is this diabolical plan. Turns out the city's big drought isn't a natural thing at all. Someone is secretly dumping millions of gallons of fresh water straight into the ocean at night. And why? To create a panic, drive down farmland prices in the San Fernando Valley, and then swoop in and buy it all up for pennies on the dollar. The final move? Get the public to fund a brand new dam that will make that worthless land priceless. And the guy pulling all the strings? The terrifying Noah Cross. But here's the twist. As Gittes digs deeper and deeper, he starts to realize that this whole water conspiracy, as big as it is, it's just a smokescreen. It's a distraction from a crime that is so much darker and so much more personal. And then, bam! We get one of the most jaw-dropping reveals in all of cinema. The woman who hired him, Evelyn Mulray, confesses this horrific secret about her father, Noah Cross. The young woman she's been protecting, who she claims is her sister, is also her daughter.
And this is where the movie is just pure genius. The two plots are designed to be mirrors of each other. You have this huge public crime, the theft of water, what they call the rape of the land, and it's all a giant, horrifying metaphor for the private crime of incest and abuse. Noah Cross doesn't just want to control the future of LA. He wants to own and control everything, including his own daughter, treating her like just another natural resource for him to take.
Okay, so that's the fiction, an incredible story. But where did this idea of greed and stolen water even come from? Well, now we got to turn to the real-life history that planted the seed for this whole legend. Now, this is probably the biggest misconception the movie created. A lot of people watch it and assume that the monster, Noah Cross, is based on this guy, William Mulholland, who was LA's real water engineer. But they could not be more different. Mulholland wasn't some greedy monster. He was a public servant, obsessed with finding enough water for the city he loved. He wasn't a murderer, and his story, well, it's actually a tragedy.
The real story was called the California Water Wars, and man, it was brutal. Back in the early 1900s, LA officials used all sorts of shady tactics to buy up land and water rights from farmers in the Owens Valley, which is hundreds of miles away. Once the massive aqueduct was finished in 1913, the valley started to turn to dust. The farmers got so desperate they actually dynamited the aqueduct in protest. But the whole thing ends in absolute disaster in 1928 when another one of Mulholland's projects, the St. Francis Dam, collapses, killing hundreds of people and completely destroying his career and his reputation.
And get this, there was a real conspiracy, just not the one from the movie. A group of super rich LA insiders, we're talking powerful guys with connections at City Hall, used inside information about the aqueduct to buy up huge amounts of cheap, useless land in the San Fernando Valley. They knew the water was coming, and they were going to make a fortune. They even used the press to whip up a fake panic about a water shortage just to make sure the public would vote for the project.
So you can see how the movie took all this complicated history, ambition, deception, real tragedy, and boiled it down into one single villain and an even darker story. And that brings us to the film's legacy, which is just as powerful and complicated. You know, that devastating ending we all remember, it almost didn't happen. The screenwriter, Robert Towne, he wanted a little bit of justice. In his version, Evelyn survives, and the bad guy, Noah Cross, finally gets what's coming to him. But the director, Roman Polanski, he fought against that. He was adamant. For the movie to be truly great, he said the villain had to win. His vision was just completely, crushingly cynical.
And Polanski's bleak outlook perfectly captured the mood of the 1970s. I mean, think about it. The film comes out in 1974, right in the middle of the Watergate scandal, right after Vietnam. It tapped into this deep feeling of disillusionment in America. It basically confirmed what a lot of people were starting to suspect, that the system is corrupt, the rich and powerful get away with everything, and sometimes the good guys just lose.
And that, right there, is the ultimate legacy of Chinatown. The story was so compelling, so perfectly told, that for millions of people, it basically replaced the real history. This fictional tale of one evil man has become the default story of how LA got its water, and it's completely overshadowed the more complex and, in many ways, more interesting, true story.
So we're left with this one last big question. Chinatown might be a perfect movie. I mean, it's incredible. But its power kind of forces us to ask, what happens to our sense of the past when a brilliant piece of fiction becomes more real than the truth itself?